Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. We welcome everyone to the Connected Workplace webinar, how IT and comms use ScreenCloud's integrated Microsoft apps to drive workplace visibility. I'm Karen Joseph from our customer success team, and I'm based in Belfast, Northern Ireland. Joining me, we have Casey Rippey from our wonderful professional services team. And Casey is based in Charlotte, North Carolina. And we are super excited to walk you through how to maximize the Microsoft stack you already own. As you all may know, ScreenCloud is a globally favored digital signage software known for our brilliant integrations and super friendly user interface. Today, we'll show you how to move beyond the desktop and turn every screen in your business into a strategic comms tool. We know this topic is critical because visibility is key to efficiency and engagement. Before I talk about our visibility challenge, let me ask you a quick question. Are you a current ScreenCloud customer, or are you a pro at ScreenCloud? Or are you just wondering which digital signage to go for? Choose us. Anyway, think about your day. You have Power BI dashboards with real-time KPIs and Teams channels filled with vital announcements. But where does that information live? It's locked on a laptop or in an inbox. When information is siloed, you breed inefficiency. Your communications team, they struggle to ensure everyone sees the latest message. And IT knows that their data isn't driving action if only a few people see it. The challenge is reaching the deskless or frontline workforce who don't spend their day in front of a desktop. This is where ScreenCloud comes in. We act as the visibility layer, a secure bridge between your Microsoft ecosystem and the digital screens across your physical workplace. We don't replace your MS tools, we simply make them visible. Our goal is simple: turn every screen in your lobby, break room, or factory floor into a smart, connected communication tool. Key features we enable are secure display of Power BI dashboards, amplification of Teams messages, and unification of comms and general MS data in one platform. Now, let me hand over to Casey.
Well, thanks, Karen. So I want to take you through, and I think this graph kind of perfectly illustrates what it's like, especially with a global workforce where you have all of these different silos, where you have the HR department and IT, and then you have your frontline manufacturing floors, or warehouses and those frontline workers, and how do you keep them all connected with the information that you're already putting out. So the first thing that I'm going to take you through is our Power BI dashboards, and this is, I think, becoming more and more prevalent at every company and workforce, whether it's from IT and especially on the manufacturing floor, being able to get those dashboards onto screen easily without having to hook up a computer and log in and have a tab open. So easily integrating in that live dashboard through our Power BI integration, and then also being able to filter in the HR comms content and the content from things like Viva Engage that Karen's about to cover, just to keep everybody informed on the data that they need to see, and also everything else that's going on in the company. And I think next, Karen, you can go ahead and take over for Teams.
Let me go. So let's transition to a comms-focused approach. So let's talk about communications and just reaching that deskless workforce. Microsoft Teams is the central hub of collaboration. I feel like not a lot of people use Teams outside of calls and just corporate channels. ScreenCloud lets you extend your Teams conversations beyond the chat and into the physical space. So use ScreenCloud to display official announcements, quick updates, or even share team-to-team praise right from your channels. This is quite instant, targeted communication that ensures everyone from the office worker to the cashier, everyone stays in the loop automatically. This is essential for culture and operational alignment. This is a great, often overlooked use case, optimizing your MS Teams meeting rooms. When a meeting isn't running, what happens to that expensive screen? It just goes blank. With Screen Cloud, you have the functionality for the Teams room hardware for video calls, but between meetings, Screen Cloud takes over. That idle time becomes valuable display time for company dashboards, emergency messages, or HR announcements. This maximizes the utilization of existing hardware. So that's kind of a win for both IT budgets and like a company's reach. Let me move on to Viva Engage. This is mainly known for like praise and culture visibility. So Viva Engage is formerly Yammer, is your social layer, and our integration makes sure those community building moments are not missed. So with Viva Engage, you can boost engagement by showcasing conversations, polls, and especially praise posts on your digital signage. It's fantastic for company culture and recognition. The visual experience of it all, we take raw Engage posts and transform it into a visually compelling digital signage slide, bringing the social feed to life on the floor. While we're actually talking about comms, let me even talk about SharePoint. If SharePoint is your company's central hub for employee-facing news and documents, this is critical. Our SharePoint integration connects directly to your site, pulling news posts and content to display automatically. This enables a single source of truth, so you only have to manage the content in one place, which is SharePoint. Any update or new post automatically cycles onto your screens, ensuring consistency across your intranet and physical spaces. Our comms teams just published a news article on the company intranet. Instead of recreating a graphic, I simply connect my Screen Cloud channel to the SharePoint news source. So the latest news headline, image, and snippet are basically now live on the main lobby screen. That's consistent, beautiful, and zero extra work. Let me pass it over to Casey.
Thanks, Karen. So, no, we can go ahead and go over to the completing the frontline loop. So, to Karen's point, with Viva Engage and Teams and SharePoint, and even with our OneDrive app, there's all of this content that you're already creating, and maybe within an office setting, and especially with connected workers, they have access to on their browser, here's their home site, and here's all the information that they're getting, or on their connected work devices, they can see those. But for frontline workers on the manufacturing floor, I think the big question, and why we have this integration, and hopefully why you're here, is to see how this content that you're already creating can impact those frontline workers. So they can see the performance that they're doing, they can see the metrics that you're using to make decisions, and how they're performing, whether it's from sales goals to manufacturing output, or whatever that metric is that you need to see, not just through Power BI, but also through our dashboard app that we have. So any authenticated dashboard you need to see on screen for those workers, and then them being able to act on information through alert systems that are already through Teams. I'm sure through any outages that are out, those are communicated quickly through Teams channels or any of those instant channels, and being able to get that onto screen and already into your existing workflow. That's crucial information. And then also from the Viva Engage and the SharePoint side, that help them feel connected. Often these offices, or where these screens are, the workers are isolated from common HQs, or where the company culture is really in full effect. But having them feel connected to the brand and have those touch points and see what's happening, either through local contributors through Viva Engage, or through the all company channels that you have. And I think that's the beauty of these tools is that Microsoft's put out, is it's helping you scale from HQ down to the local level. So we're gonna hop into here just before I share screen and go into the fun stuff. And please let me know if you have any questions on things you want to see while we're doing that. But just for this example here, we have let's say a factory floor that this building is in, and there's a couple things that they want to see, they have on screen. They're showing Power BI data with live production data and KPIs. They have Teams information with safety reminders and things that are going on, and also Viva Engage and SharePoint content, and that's all folded into a nice channel layout. So let me go ahead and share my screen. And then two, I just saw your question, Dan, that we'll get to that and have an opportunity to show where we can do some theming and branding. So I'm ready if we can go ahead and put my screen up on the stage.
Gotcha.
Okay, great. Thanks, Karen. So here I have that we're within Screen Cloud Studio. This is our CMS. I know there's a lot of current customers here, so I'm sure you're familiar here. But in this demo space here, let's say I have at this factory, there's two buildings. In each building, they're very similar. We have a break room and then also a screen that's being displayed on the production floor. So with each of these screens here, using our screen groups, we've separated them out. They're tagged. But let me go ahead and just go into the screen preview so you can see what's going on screen, and then I'll dig into the channels and see how all this Microsoft content's coming into place. So here within the break room, you can see we have we have a 4-zone layout, and we have some theming colors that we put in. So that's part of your question, Dan, is you can upload your brand colors and guidelines and have them be applied to any channel layouts to apply that theme. But we have Viva Engage content that's rotating through here. At the bottom, we have a ticker zone that's set up to an alert channel that would be intended for any service updates. I know a lot of IT folks, they're getting into Power Automate with Microsoft and any automations they can do. So things like setting up a alerts channel for digital signage that's connected to a Power Automate system you could do. And then on the right hand side here, alongside all of this Microsoft content, we have standard things like the clock, and that's rotating through with our company logo. And then on the right hand side, here's using our Canvas app. Here's a branded piece of just a graphic that rotates in between weather, and then also there's an air quality that you might have seen. Just things that might be pertinent on the factory floor or that might be needed to be displayed. And then before going into the channels here, we also have this production floor screen that's pulling in a different zone layout, where at the bottom we still have that same ticker zone that's pulling in any alerts that are coming into that same alert channel. But we've also folded in Viva Engage. So, those production floor workers, there are things like, praise or kudos that you give to coworkers or things that are posted there. They can still feel they're connected, and also encourages those local level users to use Viva Engage to shout out their local coworkers or post on there. So that's a quick highlight here. Now let me go into the channels where all of this is built out. So I have these two channels set up here, one for the break room and one for the production floor. And so let me go into the break room. And so you can see we have a 4-zone layout, but in this main zone that we're in, you can see here, I've folded in all of that Microsoft content that we've created, and it's everything that you saw on screen is connected to a Microsoft app. So we have a Viva Engage app that's pulling in company news that then switches to a Power BI dashboard in case they wanted to see how their metrics or goals while they're in the break room. There's also a Viva Engage after that set for local site news. So it could be set to that building's channel or that region's channel. So they're getting local company content. And then, if you have anything that's on SharePoint that's still being used, or that's a pillar of information that's being sent out, maybe from, official company announcements, you could put in that SharePoint content. And I briefly touched on it, but we also have a OneDrive app. So if your marketing department, or if within your workflow, you want to put in, like, here's our package, our Q2 marketing package with our, B-roll film and everything like that, they could just upload it into a OneDrive folder. And when this app's on screen, it would automatically rotate through those videos and content, almost as kind of like an ad break in between all of this, all of the company news and announcements. And then you can see we also have like the factory alerts and Teams content here. And I'll just click through the zones here a little bit, and I'll dig into how each one's configured. But you can see on the side zone, it's the same sort of layout. You can configure these apps and stack them and schedule them however you'd want, depending on what the screen, what's happening on the screen and what you need to present at certain times of day. And then we have this ticker zone, and then this mini space and logo. So that's a quick run through of how it's all built. Now let me actually go into where you configure these, and then we'll dig into some questions if there's anything that we want to hop into specifically. But within Screen Cloud Studio, we have our apps here, and then list all of the integrations that we have and things that you'll be able to integrate on screen. But when it comes to our Microsoft apps, you'll see them added here. And they're also, some of them are under like the SharePoint app, and Viva Engage are under the Pro, and Power BI are under the Pro plan here. But I've gone ahead and added all of these instances here. And let's say within Power BI, let's go ahead and use that as an example, because I know dashboards are really important. So within here, I'll just go into an existing instance. You can go through and view, what data's you have displayed and any filters that you have. But actually setting up an instance, let's go ahead and do this here live, is pretty straightforward, and it's similar across all the Microsoft apps, where you use that same Microsoft login that you use to log into Viva Engage or Teams to be able to connect these. And then you just give it a connection name, and then I'll go ahead and go through the login process in the other window real quick. And so now it'll pull you into this interface, and it's similar with every other app, where it'll pull in the channels or feeds that you have access to on your account. So within Power BI, you can see the reports that you have added into your workspace and or dashboards, and then you can actually go into let me just click this report here, and then you can set, which pages that you want to view. If it's a multi-page report that you typically have to cycle through, you can have that, cycle through and show, okay, I want this to show for 30 seconds or 60 seconds on each page. And then also setting a refresh rate. So if you want to manually, set how often we want this to pull and refresh new data, you can set that manually there. Another really cool thing that allows you to scale and maybe scale across globally is if you have a Power BI dashboard that's shared, that funnels down from, like HQ all the way down to the local level in terms of like production numbers or sales. You can add filters in there to automatically have them filter down to a specific report or data set that you want them to see, and have that displayed on screen easily. So all of that you go through and set those filters there that you need. And then I'll go ahead and save and close here. And then preview. That's fun on live demo. But let me go ahead and go into the opportunities here. Could just be something with our demo connection in that report that I selected. But when you click preview, it'll pull in that report if that report's looking, and you'll be able to see here's all of that data that's been set up for that report. Another thing I want to keep in mind too is that these reports are going on screen, and so you want to design them, or you can create a designed version of a report that you usually use on your desktop for screen view. So maybe it's a multi-page report with bigger charts or screens that can be read depending on where the location of the screen is. So just things like keeping that in mind, so it's readable and you're able to see what's going on there. The one last thing before we kind of hop into a quick Q&A, if there's anything that we need to dig into, but I do want to point out is that we have this metrics tab. So especially for those people that are looking for metrics on screen engagement and whether or not these are, what's being engaged with, what content's working, and what screens are engaging with it, you'll be able to get that data here. So any of the QR codes that you enable on the content, when they scan on screen, that'll be marked as a QR code, visit or metric, and you be able to pull things from, okay, this building at the break room screen, this content's getting a lot of scans, and what content is getting scanned and visited. So just useful tool if QR codes, and that's a big metric and push for you guys to measure engagement. You can do that as well. Another thing that we have is our proof of play logs, and some people, even with Power Automate, on the IT side, are building in integrations to be able to pull in, through our GraphQL API, here's all of the screens that they have, the channels, the last published date, and how often that content's played, and using content freshness and how often that content gets put on screen as a good metric. So let me go ahead and pause there, maybe we want to go back to the, well, I'll go ahead and show you while I'm sharing screen. We'll pull that QR code up. But just as a visualization, especially on the Microsoft apps front, we've put together a quick little, like almost poll survey or visualizer calculator for you to go through. And first, if you're on your current customer, evaluate how you're using Microsoft Teams as in each department, and then also whether or not that content's going on screen, just so you can get an idea of what it looks like, and a good visual. I know a lot of people have an idea of it, but sometimes it's useful just to see what that looks like on screen. So I'll go ahead and I was in the process of filling this out here, but I'll finish this out so you can see what that score is. I would imagine warehouse and logistics are using Power BI very often, and same with sales. Another thing to point out too is we have an Excel app. So it obviously doesn't look visually as good on screen as a Power BI report, but if there is an instance where we just need to get an Excel sheet that we use to track, orders or something that's very, edge case oriented, our Excel app, you can integrate those reports or sheets right in there. Same with OneDrive here. But let me go ahead and go next here. Part of the calculator, you can also set, how often are these screens? And something to think about too is how long are these screens going to be playing, and when are people going to be there? Do we need to, account for this is a 12-hour shift, or are these going to be running 24/7? Do we need to have content that's fresh playing in the evening? Just things like that. And then Teams rooms. So let me go ahead and submit here. And then it'll give you a good company snapshot and like a visualization of like, here's things that you're connected with. Overall coverage across departments is the content that they're using, putting onto those Microsoft apps. Is that getting onto screen? Just to give you a good overall visual of how your department's using Microsoft apps and digital signage, and just opportunities to get that content on screen. So let's go, if we can, go back to the QR code, and then I think we'll send it out as a follow-up or a link at some point if anybody wants to access it. But if you scan that QR code, it'll take you directly to that calculator if you're interested in getting your score and seeing how you're using Microsoft apps with your digital signage strategy and with Screen Cloud. I guess Karen, anything you want to cover next before hopping into a Q&A?
No, that's literally quite a good coverage, Casey. You showed every single app. Maybe like touching up on OneDrive gallery, because we didn't mention much. You can create just like folders, and that would just live update on Screen Cloud and cycle through updates. You don't even have to look at Screen Cloud. You just have to update the main folder. Screen Cloud pick it up instantly. Everything's covered. So that should be it with that. Should we go into Q&A maybe?
Yeah, it looks like we've got quite a few that we've got to get through. Not got to get through. We have the privilege of answering.
So
Toby or Jenny, if you help us out, is there a way to put them on screen?
Oh, that's love it.
All right. For performance figures, what metrics are you using, and are there any internal benchmarks we can measure against? Karen, I'll let you can speak to this, but I'll say I know we have resources and metrics that you can use that are especially for digital signage, that are best practices and the psychology of digital signage and thinking about dwell time. It's like really similar to how the outdoor advertising and billboard industry, seeing if the science around screens and signage is becoming really precise. So there's we have guides and things that we can send for you to reference. But things like QR scans, and then really the metrics that we're seeing is how often are the local level users and people that are using and administering Screen Cloud keeping content up to date. That's usually the biggest driver, because if content is being kept up to date, that means that they believe that it's valuable and that it's getting delivered on screen, especially at the local level. That's, I think, the big indicators. If you can have them and all these teams, just like with Viva Engage and any of these tools that you have, if you're not fully using them, then they're not going to, then it's not working, or there's something you've got to fix. So I think, we could definitely send a follow-up. I think, content freshness, the play logs, making sure that all the content is up to date. And then the QR code scans are great metrics.
Agreed. Playback logs, proof of play, and the metrics tab, very awesome indicators for you to check if all your stuff is up to date and how's it going and what the engagement is from the end users.
Now, you can do one last thing on that before we do that. Like on the solution engineering hat, it's a little bit big brothery, but there are things like, if you did want to, there's tools and external resources tracking, traffic and foot traffic around screens, or you set that up and then, build a system to marry the foot traffic and then what was playing on screen to get an idea of how many, views and numbers if you wanted to go down that route. So not to say that's not possible to do that, but it just requires extra tooling and maybe some extra devices if that's something that's important to you.
Yeah. Does Screen Cloud licensing need to be applied at every endpoint? If not, how is licensing managed? Yes, every single screen you pair to Screen Cloud counts as one license. So you would manage it within the Screen Cloud Studio portal. So it's just quite straightforward like that. So every screen equals one license. One screen, one license.
And on that point, though, it is, we do have our own hardware through our SCOS device and Pixie, which unlocks a lot of RDM capabilities, but we are agnostic. So speaking of like Microsoft, we have a really great Windows player. So if you already had a bunch of Windows PCs, or even a variety of Amazon signage sticks or certain Google players, you can put Screen Cloud on there as an endpoint. So I think there's a lot of options, especially on that point, to be flexible when it comes to hardware.
Yeah, we have a hardware guide as well if you want to check compatibility and stuff with different devices. So you can check our help guides.
Mm-hmm. Can one Teams license be used to reach multiple screens in Screen Cloud? You'll have to check me on that one, but I think it's just what Karen said. It's one Teams license per Teams installation. So if you have one Teams room set up for a conference room, it would be one license per room set up. It wouldn't be per all conference rooms in the building, if that makes sense.
Question. We've been using more and more QR codes. Any QR creator in the tool? We did touch upon that one. All our MS apps, you have the ability to go to settings and just generate QR code within Screen Cloud. So all the QR codes that are generated within Screen Cloud, you have the ability to track the metrics for that within the metrics tab of Screen Cloud. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
And you can. And like on the screen, like on the canvas where there's that graphic, within Canvas, you can generate QR codes to then put on screen. Then those are directly tracked for Screen Cloud on what app they're used. And those I think they're dynamic. They dynamically change too, so you can tag and know what screen that QR code was scanned from.
Yeah. And what website it was as well.
Mm-hmm.
Also, just want to make sure for the content being fed and via drive can be muted for break areas when users set to on noise.
I believe that might be a setting in there, but you can. I think you can set to mute audio, especially with SCOS 3.0. You can choose to mute that device, so no audio goes out. But let me just check the settings to make sure or see what's available. Yeah, so it's not a setting that's within the OneDrive app. You can set the post duration, so how long you want it to sit on each item within that OneDrive folder.
Let me add your screen. Sorry.
Oh, no problem.
You want me to add your screen on? Yeah.
Oh yeah, you can put my screen on. I forgot that was still staged.
Yeah.
Oh, just in the settings for the OneDrive app here. So you can do things like what you have control of for OneDrive is you can hide older posts. So if you want to keep it fresh, like for the example of like the marketing team puts up a monthly package, you can automatically like from the get-go set it up to be like, okay, it's just going to rotate every 30 days. It's not going to show anything older than that.
Yeah.
You can also set the duration, like if you wanted to cycle through quickly on items, like let's say it was just graphics or slides that you had in there, you can determine that that duration there. And you can also limit the video post duration. So if it's you have a 5-minute B-roll you want to play, you only want to play 30 seconds of it, you can easily, or if you not have to worry about long videos getting played on screen for very long, you can limit those. And then this is a really useful setting is resuming playback from the last post displayed. So it will automatically, through the course of the playlist and it gets played on the channel. Let's say it played 2 videos or got through, 3 files. The next time it comes up on screen, it'll automatically resume at the next file that's in that list. So you won't be repeating content is the point. So it's constantly fresh on screen.
Last thing you would need is to have like predictable content and you're like, that's going to come up next.
Yeah.
Definitely enable that one. I'll bring the questions back here. In the metric tab, link QR code. Yes, so you would need to create it within ScreenCloud. So all the QR codes, like it's quite straightforward. It's just a toggle on for generate QR code. Once you enable that, it does need to be created under ScreenCloud is what I'm saying. So yeah, once it's created in ScreenCloud, you can track it from the metrics tab.
Yeah, and you could, you have to create it there. And you could, if like I know, like you have your own QR code generator service that you use for like tracking and like analytics, you could put it in like for the link when you're creating the URL, you can put whatever the QR code link that you would use from your tracking service in as the URL to generate that QR code, so it tracks through ScreenCloud. Hopefully that makes sense. But you could basically put in whatever link that you want in there if you needed a specific tracking link to create that QR code. If you needed to track it easily in multiple systems.
What does support look like? Dedicated direct. Full 9. My favorite part, because I am ex-support, our support team's genuinely the best support team. Like we're known to be genuinely one of the friendliest support teams. I love my team.
They're at an award ceremony right now, right?
We are in Belfast. We actually got nominated for quite a few like Superstar, Rising Star, like Contact Center, Northern Ireland Excellence Awards.
Nice.
So quite a few nominations from our team. It's going on at the moment, I suppose. So support, you can actually reach out within ScreenCloud. So you have like a little bot on your bottom left. If you just click through, you can start messaging us. It comes through live chat. You have a dedicated phone line as well. If you need to call us, we're always there 24/5, Monday to Friday. We cover all the time zones. So yeah, no dedicated rep. If you do have a pro account, you would have a CSM. So I believe they would be a dedicated representative for your account. But yeah, support team's great. Definitely get in touch.
Yeah, I think if you're a current customer, if we're looking to roll out, definitely talk with your account manager because there's certain levels where, you get the CSM. And then also too, if you're in the process of rolling out, or even if you want to do like a re-rollout, if you're like, I want to re-implement and get a nice base. On the professional services side, we have, we call it Launchpad, but services just basically help assist and guide that rollout and help you like map things out from, okay, here's space setup to where we're shipping and provisioning devices and things like that. So if that's a need, we can help you there too from the support end.
Can the Teams app provide the ability to put a live meeting and after the meeting switch back to regular signage? Yes. So we have the Teams Rooms media player. So during that, you can stream your town halls or any of your Teams calls live, and you can have it live streamed. We also have ScreenCloud Broadcast. So if you need any other live stream, we can use OBS or Zoom and just integrate it into ScreenCloud. You can show it from all your digital signage screens, and then it will just switch back to regular signage out of the live stream.
Actually, anecdotally, before this call, I was helping a customer. They were doing the same thing. They were broadcasting their quarterly town hall to all their offices, and they were using our Microsoft Teams, like the Teams call that they use, and then broadcasting that to screens for all their workers. So it's a nice little tie-in.
Are there any documents that explain the licensing requirements and costs for using particular features, such as Pro connectors for SharePoint, Power BI, MS Teams, and others? We do have documentation for our pricing plans. So we basically offer 3 plans. It's Core, Pro, and Enterprise. All the MS apps come under your Pro subscription. So if you have your Pro subscription, you can just check out our pricing page. And do you want me to bring it up, actually?
Yeah, let me...
Do you have it? I'll bring it.
Yeah, if you can go ahead and pull it up.
So there we go.
So you can see here we have, depending on where you're located, the different dollar amounts here. But for U.S. dollars, annually, it's starting at $30, and that's what's listed there. And of course, we have an enterprise plan if it's a bigger rollout where you need to talk with us, where it's a 25 screen minimum. But here you can see what's included in the core. But then on Pro, that's where you need to get those Microsoft app integrations. Not listed here.
Can Excel be used on Screen Cloud? Yes. The UI it just looks like an Excel sheet, but we do recommend Power BI or any other report, but you can use Excel.
Yeah, you can't. I think it's the Excel is Excel. It makes our designers, and like for the screens on looking on screen, but it is the spreadsheet is such a useful tool that it's hard that you sometimes just need to put that spreadsheet up there. It's funny. I don't know if anybody's seen the show The Pit, but like it's based in like a hospital show. But like looking at their screens, their digital signages, they have an Excel sheet that they're running, keeping track of patients and rooms that are available, and thinking about that's like, oh, that's just the most practical way in a crazy thing like an ER room to like track that. So anyway, that's my anecdote on Excel being used on screens. Watch The Pit. I don't know if you want to. You could share my screen or go back to my screen on the Excel thing, or just because we didn't touch on it. We have some time. But once you have the Excel app enabled, you basically create an instance for each sheet. And so you need to have the Excel sheet available first in OneDrive. And then you can even select the specific range that you want to display. If you want the header displayed, the title that would be displayed on there. If you want that header row pinned and things like that. So that's the basic setup. Just select it from Drive and then connect it there. Is there any limitations, Karen? I know on the support end for Excel, like on like merge cells and like animation.
Yeah, it does not. It's not able to take animations at all. So that is one of the main concerns. So it literally just looks like a plain spreadsheet.
Okay.
Not a good look, but yeah.
Okay. Well, that's Excel. Next question.
I see there's a ton of integration options. We're going to mark the channels we have on our TV screen, stream on Teams by one of our apps. So our most app. We actually have embed channel if you'd like. So you can just embed the channel, and if your television which is accessible to the remote staff, if they have access to a browser, they can just use the embed link and they can be updated. But if you have anything else, Casey?
Yeah, so I think the embed link, yeah, I'm sure. So if you're in a channel, like let's say this break room floor channel that we created, and then up here we have the share option. And so this would be where you can share to different spaces. So like, let's say you're in HQ and you want to share out this channel layout to all of your different, buildings and offices. But we do have this option down here that's called share with others. And you can embed that channel link. So you can either disable it for like you have to have a login into ScreenCloud to access it, or you can make it publicly available, that link to be viewed. But you could, theoretically, like put it behind, that link's only accessible through SSL sign-in, things like that. So they could hold this up here and then click start playing to activate that screen. And then now I'm viewing all that channel's content. I don't know if, Karen, you have anything to add on like things to think about with that, or if there's any limitations that we know of.
Not really. Like the only thing is you would need to press start playing. So if you can add like / autoplay equals 1 or something to the URL, that should autoplay it.
Mm-hmm.
Because like there are sometimes like, you would have people use it on a general computer and it's just stuck on the now playing screen and you would just need to click it. So I think it's not a limitation really. It is kind of waiting for you to get to it. But yeah, just autoplay it. Should I go ahead with up to how many apps can be applied on a ScreenCloud? We have over 85 apps in ScreenCloud, like quite a few integrations. There's no limit as to how much you can use within a channel or a playlist. Like you can literally, sky's the limit. We do notice that I feel like people don't use enough of our apps. We have like a different plethora of apps. If you want news, you have news. You have YouTube if you want to, show live streams or random jazz videos. But yeah,
especially for background audio, like those lo-fi playlists, like using the YouTube app for that is really good, especially for break rooms. And too, like to point out, like not just the apps, but like the instances within like Microsoft, like Teams, for example, you can select as many channels, create as many instances of that, depending on how many channels you have. If it's 1,000 and you have 1,000 locations, then you can do that.
Review content update daily. Yes. So once you add an instance to a channel or a screen, every time it cycles through, it basically looks for an updated version. So you will always have updated content on your screens. So yeah, it would update like quite instantaneously. Like ScreenCloud would just reach out, check if there's new content, and then start picking it out and displaying it.
Yeah.
With all screens being synced during a broadcast, many of ours are in close proximity. Also, would there be a way to automate raising the volume only when needed, like for a broadcast? So we do have a sync option within screens. So when you go into screens and you click on an individual screen settings, there is a few options like sync, unsync. Let me add Casey back here. So we would recommend clicking on sync. So basically any other device that's playing the same channel, they will all play simultaneously at the same, like exactly the same speed and everything. So it's really useful for like video walls, and if you have so many screens in one line, they would all be playing the same screen if you've enabled sync.
Yeah, we do that. We actually do that a lot at the events. Some of the events that we do, they'll have two cafes that are rotating between like showing a static cafe menu, and then it cycles through like video promotional content, and we use that sync feature to make sure it's playing the videos at the same time and it doesn't like desync or anything like that. Another technical note on that is if you really wanted to get particular, you could set a custom NTP server for the device's time. Like if you wanted to get really particular on what time the devices were syncing off of, that would be that option here. And there's a little bit of a tooltip on what you'd be diving down. It's definitely an advanced feature mode, but generally this playback mode sync would work.
Just for the raising the volume part using CEC, you can't control the volume through CEC, but it's just mainly for your HDMI input source and locking the input source or turning the TV off and on. That's mainly the use case for the Screen Cloud OS devices, HDMI CEC functionality, but unfortunately it does not include volume for the TV, like controlling the volume.
Yeah. I know that they're doing product hardware. I don't know where it is on the roadmap, but they are working. Like, we're expanding our CEC capabilities. I think just as a company, we want to make sure that we can work on any device or any screen, and so we're really careful about CEC is one of those weird protocols that, like, there's difference. Like, TCL does it differently than Hitachi versus Vizio, and just making sure that we can standardize it. But hopefully in the future, that's something, especially with our SCOS devices, if you're using those, you'll have that capability.
I definitely recommend Screen Cloud OS devices as well. It's just the build quality is good. It's able to run all the good, like Power BI, like heavy overloaded data as well. So definitely go for that one. Finding this RSS from functioning or posting users. This is a common question that we get. It's just that we don't control the RSS feeds that the source would give us, like the client. They do pull support from certain RSS feeds, and then we're basically suffering the brunt of it because you would have to recreate the instance. But let me see.
Well, so yeah, I mean, it's like an industry wide, like Google Reader. I wonder about ask if anybody in the chat is their original like Google Reader user with all the RSS feeds. But anyway, I think it's just an industry trend towards they're trying to protect their content more and more. But we do, and so it's more complicated. But I think in a way it's more sophisticated and will end up being better in the long run as an industry standard. But we do have our webhooks app. So if, let's say, you had a source of content that like was on an API, like weather data or even like news feeds or things like that, you could use our webhook app. And even within Microsoft, if you have access to Power Automate as a part of your suite, you could create a script that would, pull and, news resources from a site that you'd have access to, and then format and send that as a JSON to the web, formatted JSON to the webhook, and then it would be displayed as a post. So yeah, it's unfortunate RSS feeds. They were so great, but they're unfortunately becoming harder and harder to find. But
it actually happens like similar, like even for YouTube, like sometimes, like let's say Sky News would create like a live stream of their news based on the event. So let's say like when the Queen passed away, there was a separate link that was immediately pulled out after 2 days. So it's just something that websites just do, based on like viewership or whatever it is that they need.
Yeah. I would say a good plug would be, because this is just a common industry-wide problem with just streaming media, like media licensing and protections and all of that is becoming more prevalent online. But in our community section, if anybody does like, hey, here's a webhook I have for being able to pull in news that you discovered, and we'll post things like that too. Like we're posting some tutorials on like switching channels through GraphQL. But yeah, if anybody comes across anything, definitely use our community channel as a way to kind of share that and evangelize. All right, next question.
Salesforce tools that are being difficult at this
moment. The questions, we have some Salesforce dashboards that are being difficult to display due to MFA required by Salesforce login. Any suggestions? Well, I guess if you're currently on Screen Cloud and you're using our dashboards app for it, multi-factor can be an issue, or not be an issue. It's just a challenge depending on how your setup is. I think we'd be happy if you reach out to support support or one of us to look at it and like troubleshoot what's the best way to do it, because those MFA systems can be difficult. So
like there's a few that we can't support as well, like email authentication or like device authentication. So it's just because our bot can't replicate that when it's reaching to your Salesforce dashboard. So yeah, it's just like basic email, password, and maybe use a secret key, because I think that's the best way.
The one-time password. So you basically treat it like it basically creates a Microsoft Authenticator account for it to be able to authenticate.
Yeah. Apologies if this is something I covered. But Pro, remember, I didn't think the MS ones would be automatic. So yes, once you do have the Pro subscription, if you could just go into apps and there is a whole section for Pro/like premium apps, it would be under that. Or if you just go into apps and search Microsoft, they should all populate. If they don't, just let someone know in the support team and they'll take a look in case, some feature flag needs to be enabled from our side.
Yeah, on the media side, that's just uploading media. Like if you're in our media, so those are just connections to connect with like media hubs for uploading physical. But yeah, you'd go to apps and make those connections.
Yeah. Can anyone just share the steps on how to access the embed link? Correct me if I'm wrong. The embed link is a Pro feature as well. So you would need the Pro subscription for the embed player feature, basically. Let me bring Casey's screen back up. Here.
Oh yeah, I've got the link, but we have a channel. I could put it, or if we put it as a reply to his question, but we have a whole guide and video on the setup and how to use it. Yeah.
Essentially, it's just a share icon, and then right at the bottom there's embed link. That's it, and you just enable it, and that's it.
Down here.
I'll send the guide over.
Okay. How will I be able to get this recorded file for the webinar? I believe, Toby, you could send a message, or Jenny. I think there'll be a link for it.
Yes. So a link would be, you'll get an email within 24 hours wherein you will find the link to the recording so you can rewatch it, whatever you'd like. Because we got a few questions about that today. So I was thinking, was it, is it instantaneous or... on the ticker, can you control the speed? Yes. There is default, slow, fast.
Yeah, so that would be, let me try to pull up the...
What was it? Yeah.
Another thing to point out too for these Teams and Viva Engage apps is we have our design system that's taking all of that content, like basically that raw data, and then you can format it to use these different style packs that we call them, just to add a little bit of like dynamic, flavor. I get flavor town, but a little flavor to the screen, and make like the images pop and things look good, just to help. And there's some settings for like cropping images if things get posted strangely. But on the playlist settings here, you can set the post duration. And I think this also controls, and maybe we can get confirmation, but this also controls when it's set on the ticker zone, how fast they go through. Mm-hmm. So if I set this to, let me go actually do this for the IT alerts, and we'll just do a quick test. So let me, saying this was on default, let me set this to slow. Let me go back to the break room. I'll need to confirm, but I think it is moving a little bit slow. It's moving slower on the ticker tape. But anyway, we can get confirmation on exactly what settings control that. I know there's specific, like within our Quick Post app. Mm-hmm. Is it within Quick Post?
It's Notice Board, I think. You go.
Oh, it's Notice Board?
Okay. No, but I mean, Notice Board also has the ability to do that, but you can feel free to do it here as well.
Yeah, let me. Notice Board.
Just write a long text, like anything that needs scrolling, and then like even longer, probably. What is the weather today? And yada, yada, yada. And then add it to the ticker tape for your channel, and then you can probably.
All right, and then you can control it within there.
Am I going crazy?
Anyway, we'll send resources on it. We won't get lost in this. We'll go to the next question. But there is a way that you can control that within the settings and the things set to that duration. Like Karen said, we have so many apps. It's like you have to on the fly. Are we looking for where we were at on questions?
Yes, I think that is us for all the questions. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, do we need to go back to the slides and do we want to wrap it up here?
Let's.
Unless anybody has anything else.
If no one got a chance to scan the QR code, then feel free to do it now, just in case we were moving too quick and we were like, oh, let me show you this, let me show you that. So feel free to just scan it now.
Yeah, no problem. Well,
should we give a minute for more questions, or should I just?
Yeah, we'll hang out. We'll hang out in the chat here for a little bit since we've got 4 minutes, and we're more in the casual after hours of the webinar, the ScreenCloud webinar.
This is the after hours chat.
Yeah, this is the after hours chat here. Yeah, so if anybody has any questions, let us know. I'm just trying to think of just things. I think one of the biggest things on the ProServe side are helping and seeing people roll out. I think there can be a reluctance to be like, we're just going to plug in this feed that we have, because I think people want to be like, I want to control everything that's on the screen, because it is really important. But I think it's just in your head, the workflow of, hey, all of this content that's going on screen and these messages that are important, and utilizing the tools that you have to communicate and having that be an extension on screen. So I think a big part of it is just understanding the system and what content you want to get on there. And then, buying into, hey, we want to be as efficient as possible, and we want to not enable local level users to use these tools that we have. And especially the things like Viva Engage, and those like public facing tools, like really screens, like that's where that shines, is like those shout outs and those kudos and those posts. That's where people want to see it. And like, that's where the bragging rights or the recognition comes in, and people see that as like, oh, this is why this is valuable.
I feel like we could also mention like shared channels. Like if you have like one space that's just making like corporate comms, you can just share it to other spaces. Spaces are basically like sub accounts within your one ScreenCloud account. So that just gives you more power on you sharing what is the main corporate comms that needs shared, really. And then, end users have the option to add local content if they'd like it. So it's just something that we offer as, management, like just to manage your content better and just keep it more uniform and ensure like all important stuff does show up, but yeah. I think this is wrap up, Casey.
I think this just did it. Well, this is great, Karen. I'm glad we got to do this together.
Thank you.
Well, thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone, for joining. And sign up for ScreenCloud. Let us know what your Microsoft apps and digital signage usage is. Don't forget to scan that code. And yes, have a lovely rest of your day. And hopefully we'll see you on the next webinar.
Yeah.